I did my instant reaction video at the ground yesterday, I'd sort of highlighted at the start how much time wasting I thought Aston Villa had done. Now, it's always interesting when you're at the ground because you've got the crowd around you, and I think you can perceive that certain things are maybe not as they appear on the TV. So I remember doing the video and then thinking afterwards, oh, I wonder if I got that right. Maybe I was just really annoyed. I was sort of a bit worked up with the atmosphere and whatnot. Was the time wasting as bad as I thought it was? And I was half expecting to read the comments, and particularly from, I guess, from some Aston Villa fans on the comments, and a lot of people say, actually, it wasn't that bad. It's really rare that I do a video and basically everybody says, yeah, that was right. Everybody seems to agree that it was time wasting on another level, really. I'm not going to talk about it for too much longer because there's other things to discuss. But yeah, that was a really weird thing to witness, actually. Actually, on the video, one of the more recent comments on there is from a Villa fan. I think his name was Luke, and he said, actually, so I'm a bit embarrassed from what I saw. All I can really think is that it was maybe a bit of residual, a bit more than residual time wasting, but left over from the previous manager. I can't imagine Steven Gerrard will persevere with that particular tactic, because as I tried to articulate in the review, you're time wasting again. You're constantly slowing the game down. At the point when you go behind, you need to speed the game up. It's quite hard to flick the switch and do that. So I just didn't think it's a particularly successful tactic, really. Anyway, so that was that. What I did want to talk about in this one, obviously we've spoken about Yarmolenko and all that wonderful stuff yesterday, and what a great story it was really the resilience in this team. And I've said for a little while now that I go into games thinking we're always in the games. We don't seem to get thrashed. I mentioned it yesterday. And as I say, there will come a point we ship 3 goals and someone will say, no, or whatever. Probably won't be a child. Might be a grown-up saying you got that wrong, mate. But I feel by and large we don't let in many goals. There's only, a single goal in it, which puts you in the game all the time. So even if a team is good, like Liverpool, like Sevilla, we know these are good teams. Villa are in good form. They're always tight games, and it gives you a chance. So I think there's always that. Now, just put aside for a moment the transfer window. We all agree more business should have been done in the transfer window. That much is clear. We've got a thin squad. But once you just sort of accept that that's the case, at least from now until the end of the season, I think you just got to sort of marvel at what is happening at West Ham at the moment. I spoke to somebody on the boats before the game yesterday, and they said, where do you think we will finish? And I said, look, I don't know. I would imagine it would be top 8. And I also said, but actually, I would imagine we'll be at least top 10 next season. Now, that doesn't sound particularly fantastic, does it? But when put into the context of West Ham, and I know we haven't finished top 10 next season yet, because that's next season, but West Ham, I don't know how many times West Ham might have finished top 10 3 seasons in a row. I'd imagine it is very, very rare. I certainly don't remember too much. It's a level of consistency which we seem to have now, which is a little bit alien, really. And I understand that there are frustrations that we've gone out the FA Cup. I'm frustrated. There's frustrations that we're not contesting the top 4. But realistically, they're lofty ambitions that are... They would sort of be ahead of where we are as a club at the moment. There was a lot of talk about Aston Villa before this game. About Aston Villa look at Aston Villa, they're doing wonderfully. Look what they've done. They're heralded as the way to do things. The thing is, with a club like that, and they have been doing well, don't get me wrong, at the start of the season, it was Everton who were being heralded as that's the way to do things. Benitez was there. Why there were people saying, why didn't we bring Damari Gray in? Look at what they're doing. Everything they're doing is wonderful. They tailed off, not so much now. Southampton had a little purple patch. Obviously, there's a point last season. They shipped 9 goals or whatever it was. Little purple patch this season. Did really well. Everyone's saying, why can't we do things like Southampton have done it? Look how Southampton, how well they're doing. They've dropped off a little bit. Wolves are back in vogue at the moment. I look at it and I think actually the only team with any consistency who have sort of stayed up there for any length of time, and I mean that for 5 or 6 seasons, was Leicester, really. To propel yourself from being, I guess, a club that has that has got relegated and promoted, to then being someone who's consistently in the top 10. Granted, they won the Premier League, and that was a miraculous achievement. It's quite a hard thing to do. So I'm always reluctant to sort of herald any one particular club as the way of doing things. Newcastle are doing well at the moment. They'll drop off as well at some point, because aside from, can you hear that in the background? That's actually artillery going off, by the way, and the not far from the basically from military ground. They're training, just in case you wonder exactly what's going on outside there. Because by and large, aside from the very top clubs, I mean Man City or Liverpool, teams do get very, very streaky. Even Arsenal now are being, everyone's complimenting, I think, what Arteta's doing. Rightly so, he's doing a good job. But they've been crap for 5 or 6 years at least. So only now are they getting their act together. So I look at it and think, look at the component parts of West Ham and look at what we're doing. And I think it's quite miraculous, actually. Before I go any further, this video is sponsored by the OneFootball app. You can download the OneFootball app by using the link below. The great thing about the OneFootball app is you can tailor it to your own club. If you're a West Ham fan, when you sign up, click I'm a West Ham fan, puts all the news from all the newspapers, all the websites, everything you need, team lineups, injury news, transfer news, results, upcoming fixtures, all into one place for you. Obviously, if you're a Villa fan, it will do exactly the same. Best of all, it's free. You can use the link below or use that QR code up there if you can suss out how to use it, of course. When I talk about the resilience, I also want to talk about the sum of our parts, actually. Because whilst I feel it was always difficult for us to really appreciate what David Moyes was trying to do, particularly when we look at him with, actually that's an opportunity missed by not bringing players in January. He obviously felt with the squad that he had that he could manage. How do you define manage? I don't know. I would define manage probably differently to how David Moyes would. I think manage, can we get through? I think David Moyes is thinking I can still win games. I really do believe he does. Until you look what happened, no Bowen. We think, do you know what? That's going to be really tough for us. How are we going to win without Bowen? We did. Even against Liverpool, no Declan Rice against Liverpool. We played really well. I don't want to lose Declan, but the fact that the component parts of the team make me think, well, okay, if we did, as long as we could buy a replacement, I think the team would still function. I'm not saying we'd be a better team without Declan Rice, far from it. Who could? He's sensational. I hope he stays with us now, particularly in light of what's going on with Chelsea. Sign a new contract, Declan, please. And then I look at it and then think, well, what happened yesterday? Cresswell going down. Big problem, right? Antonio again. And I think for him to go, I'm not suggesting I wanted Antonio to get injured, not at all, because when he did, I thought, oh no, this is bad, really, really bad. But actually, what does Moyes do? He brings on Yarmolenko, and in many respects, I think our centre-forward play improved when Yarmolenko came on. I'm not just saying that because of the goal, it's easy thing to say because of the goal, but talking to people inside the stadium as well, I think, a number of people I spoke to seemed to indicate that was the case as well. That certainly seemed to do. Ben Johnson moved to left-back, well, he looked brilliant. He really did. He looked absolutely brilliant at left back. We're very lucky to have a player as versatile as that. So fair play to Ben Johnson. I guess there's a bit of luck. A bit of it is just down to bringing a good player through the academy. But a lot of it has to go down to Johnson for working so much on his weaker foot that sometimes I look at him play and look at that ball that he played midweek against Sevilla, where he switched it to the left hand side to Cresswell. Sometimes I look at his delivery with his left foot, and I think it's sort of indiscernible from his stronger right foot. Sometimes, not all the time. But there's not a lot of players who do try and make their weaker foot as good as their stronger foot. So fair play to Johnson, by the way. But, you lose those players. You've already lost Bowen. The referee was, I felt, being hoodwinked a little bit. He was falling for a lot of the trickery of Aston Villa, certainly. Yet we still came through. We were still resilient enough. We were still... we still had enough belief. We still had enough team spirit. And I felt the celebrations said it all. And I do mean both sets of celebrations. It's easy just to highlight the Yarmolenko one for obvious reasons. But I loved seeing that camaraderie. People, the players were going, they were hugging him. They were kissing him on the top of the head. I mean, there was a real love and affection for him. And it was just throughout the team. And you saw it with the Fornals goal. as well. I don't know if anyone was kissing Fornals per se, but the way Fornals went up and Ben Rama sort of beckoned him over for a celebration, and everyone joined in. There's definitely a massive team spirit. There's definitely a camaraderie there, and when things weren't going our way in that game, we seemed just to want to battle through, and it was really, I thought it was really summarised, obviously by Yarmolenko, but also the state of Souček, because he was all bandaged up. He looked, he looked all, you know what I'm saying? He looked a bit bruised and battered, didn't he? He looked a bit of a mess. But there he was, with stitches all over him and bandages and playing through. We love all of that. It's absolutely fantastic. And that was it. There was a determination to win and a desire to win, and that was what we were going to do. We were going to battle through. Doesn't matter how many injuries, doesn't matter how bad it got. We were going to battle through and just win through by hook or by crook. That was our answer to the question of how are you going to win the game. We were facing a foe, an opposition, whose answer, how are you going to win the game, was, well, we're going to fall down a bit and we're going to try and con the referee. We're going to basically try and hoodwink and cheat our way through this game. Thank goodness we won. Not just the 3 points, as I said in the review afterwards, but I would have been really sour graped. I'd have been very, very pint of bitter, sir. Yes, please. I'd have been very, very bitter afterwards if we had have lost to those sort of tactics. And I know I would have done, because I'm still sort of smarting by what Brentford did earlier on in the season. And it did remind me. I remember us playing Villa. Was last season. I remember Watkins playing. There was a lot of naughtiness going on, wasn't there? Really. Hopefully they stamp it out again, because they've got a lot of players to admire there. They really do. I think Ramsey's a hell of a player. Coutinho's really good when he's in full flow. I thought by and large we stopped him yesterday, as I mentioned. And you can't lie. It's not like you can go from you can hate on every team in the Premier League. You got your ones who you like to dislike and whatnot. But I've got nothing. No particular issue with Villa at all. So it would be nice if they didn't try and cheat their way through games. And I wasn't aware of it. I think because I've only seen since Gerrard came over. I think Steven Gerrard's one of the best players I've ever seen play live. Honestly, we've done it before. I put him in my top 10 before, of top 10 players I've ever seen play live. That's despite the heartache that he caused us. I don't think I ever thought that a Steven Gerrard team would do that. And I think I've only really seen Aston Villa play. In highlights, you don't really see much of that. I don't think I've seen them play live too much. I didn't realise that was part of the game. Maybe it's not. Maybe that was just a sort of one-off, or a little bit, as I say, residual stuff left over from the previous manager. I don't know. I don't care anymore. We got the win. The confidence it gives us ahead of Sevilla is fantastic. As I understand it, Antonio's was the thigh. I think Cresswell, he walked off under his own steam. Bowen, they just don't know. They don't know. He might not be involved. They literally don't know, apparently. So, but you know what? The one thing I do know is, regardless of what team David Moyes puts out, they're going to give it a go. And we're in with a chance, because I do think we're better than the sum of our parts. There's a collective team spirit amongst that group of players. And a lot of the credit has got to go down to the players, to Moyes and his backroom staff, who are just always there. You watch them on the sidelines. Nolan's there, Nevin's there, Pearce. They're all just heavily involved in creating this wonderful team spirit. And I do think that while other teams may have their little peaks and troughs, so to speak, I think we're here to stay. And when I say here to stay, I mean as a top 10 team. And I think that's something to be pleased about. I'm personally pleased about, not for me to tell you what you should be pleased about, but I'm delighted with that, absolutely delighted, and I'll take that, and I'm looking forward to what David Moyes has got in store. It's already been a good season. It can be another bloody good one like last season. Anyway, I'll catch up with you tomorrow.